back to my channel. My name is Holly. This is She Reads. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my favorite scary book. I have actually been wanting to do this video for a long time. I've talked about it in passing before on my channel, but I've never gone into detail about it. The book that I am referring to is this chunker by Anne Rice called The Witching Hour. And I have read this one 3 times, maybe 2. But I first read it when I was 16. I picked this up at a thrift store when I was 16 years old, and I read it. It took me a really long time to get through that time. And then I read it again. Yeah, well, it was only 2 times. I read it again a couple of years ago. But this one, I don't know, it's just like captivated my imagination for so long. And I definitely took some inspiration from this when writing my current work in progress. So it definitely has inspired me, and it's just a book that I have just loved for years. And it just like, it's so eerie, it's so creepy, it gets your imagination going. And it's really perfect for the Halloween season because it deals with multiple different kind of spooky things. It talks about witches, it talks about demons, it talks about ghosts, it talks about possession. Like there's all sorts of like different kind of creepy elements to this story. So to start off, I'm just gonna go ahead and read you guys the book jacket so you get a full understanding of what the synopsis is. Demonstrating once again her gift for spellbinding storytelling and the creation of legend, Anne Rice makes real for us a great dynasty of witches, a family given to poetry and to incest, to murder, and to philosophy, a family that, over the ages, is itself haunted by a powerful, dangerous, and seductive being. On the veranda of a great New Orleans house, now faded, a mute and fragile woman sits rocking, and the witching hour begins. It begins in our time with a rescue at sea. Rowan Mayfair, a beautiful woman, a brilliant practitioner of neurosurgery, aware that she has special powers, but unaware that she comes from an ancient line of witches, finds the drowned body of a man off the coast of California and brings him to life. He is Michael Curry, who was born in New Orleans and orphaned in childhood by a fire on Christmas Eve, who pulled himself up from poverty, and who now, in his brief interval of death, has acquired a sensory power that mystifies and frightens him. As these two, fiercely drawn to each other, fall in love and, in a passionate alliance, set out to solve the mystery of her past and his unwelcome gift, the novel moves backward and forward in time from today's New Orleans and San Francisco to a long ago Amsterdam and a chateau in the France of Louis XIV. An intricate tale of evil unfolds, an evil unleashed in 17th century Scotland, where the first witch, Suzanne of the Mayfair, conjures up the spirit she names Lasher, a creation that spells her own destruction and torments each of her descendants in turn. From the coffee plantations of Port-au-Prince, where the great Mayfair fortune is made, and the legacy of their dark power is almost destroyed, to Civil War New Orleans, as Julian, the clan's only male to be endowed with occult powers, provides for the dynasty its foothold in America. The dark, luminous story encompasses dramas of seduction and death, episodes of tenderness and healing, and always, through peril and escape, tension and release, there swirl around us echoes of eternal war. Innocence versus the corruption of the spirit, sanity against madness, life against death. With the dreamlike power, the novel draws us through circuitous, I don't know if I said that word right, twilight paths, to the present, and to Rowan's increasingly inspired and risky moves in the merciless game that binds her to her heritage. And in New Orleans on Christmas Eve, the strangest of family sagas is brought to a startling climax. So that's a pretty hefty synopsis for a pretty hefty book. And I mean, to be completely honest with you, it makes it sound a little bit more dry than it is, but this book is really good. There's tons of detail in here. And I don't know, like, I didn't really find it slow going at all. There's lots of mystery that kind of intertwines it. And you just don't know what's happening. Like, you don't know if this is a demon, if this is a ghost, like what's happening to this family that just keeps going through generation to generation. And these witches are like, they're tragic. They've all died in tragic ways. And Rowan now is the only surviving one. And she is just like kind of trying to come to terms with all of this and finding out all this stuff about her past. She inherits this amazing house, which that is where most of this story takes place, is in this huge haunted house. And I have a really funny story about that, because a few weeks ago, well, probably a couple months ago actually now, I'm really bad judgment of time, but I was walking around with my son, and we just kind of go for walks, you know, every day. And we went to a part of town that we hadn't really gone to before, and I walked past this house, and you guys, I seriously stopped in my tracks, because this house was the exact house, with a few details, of course, differentiating, but it was pretty much the exact house of the house that I pictured when reading this book. And I just stopped and I was like, oh my God, that's the Mayfair house. It was so weird. I've never had that happen to me before, where, you know, something that I've like imagined in my mind, all of a sudden you walk past a house and you see like pretty much the exact same thing. It was so strange. But overall, you guys, I highly recommend this one. It is a longer read. It's a little bit more, it's not like a young adult read where it's going to be really fast. Like, it is going to be a little bit of a slower read, but it is definitely worth it. Just the feeling that she creates when you're reading this book, and just the imagery she uses and everything, it just overall creates for such a haunting reading experience. And it's never left me. Like, I first read this book when I was 16 years old. I'm 31 now, and this book has never left me. Like, it stays with you, and it's just like creepy and eerie. It's not overly terrifying, but it's scary enough that it, like, you know, kind of makes you look around the corner after you're reading it late at night. So I definitely recommend this one. Like I said, there's a lot of different things at play here. There's just talk of witches, of ghosts, of demons, all sorts of like weird kind of creepy things. And there's a mystery that unfolds, and it's just so good. I definitely want to reread it again. But it is a big undertaking for sure. But if you're looking for something a little bit more intricate and something that's just honestly really, really well done, I definitely recommend this one. This is actually the first in a 3-part series. I don't really recommend the other 2 parts as much. Like, the second novel, Lasher, was okay, but the third one, Teltos, like, not at all. Like, I almost think this one should have just been a standalone. It kind of does leave on a cliffhanger a little bit, but I think if she had reworked it a little bit, it could have just been a standalone. I mean, it could have even just ended on that cliffhanger, and it still would have been a good book. But I definitely recommend reading The Witching Hour for sure. You will not be disappointed. Well, you guys, that is all that I'm going to talk about today. That was a brief synopsis on why I love my favorite book, The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have read it and what your thoughts on it were. And if that's not your favorite book, let me know what is. I would love to know. I hope you guys are having an awesome day. I will see you tomorrow for the next Hollyween video. Bye!